When I was 11 years old, I discovered a crusty sock under my bed which I had never seen in my entire life. But strangely, every morning I would check on the sock and it would be filled with fresh mayonnaise every single time, even though I never touched it. And so this became an unsolved mystery in my household until I finally decided to install a security camera and caught my uncle breaking into my room in the middle of the night. But apparently there are much more creepier mysteries on the internet that have been solved. 5 disturbing internet mysteries solved by Reddit by Chilling Scares.
On the 24th of April 2022 at around 3 p.m., 10-year-old Lily Peters left her home to visit her aunt on her own.
A 10-year-old leaving the house in the afternoon to visit her aunt on her own? Bro, of course, bro. Isn't this like the exact recipe? That is like the most cliche situation possible. Like, in what world would she not get kidnapped? A 10-year-old trying to go to their grandma's house at 3 p.m. in the afternoon?
The aunt's house was just a 3-minute bike ride from Lily's home.
Bro, a 3-minute bike ride. It's only 3 minutes. It's only 3 minutes if you go on a bike. But if you translate this to like walking time, then this is at least like a 9-minute, like at least a 9-minute walk. And even if she was on a bike, do you really think she's gonna be able to ride a bike at the same speed as an adult? Like, I'm pretty sure the Google Maps use an adult like biking speed as like the reference.
The aunt's house was just a 3-minute bike ride from Lily's home in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And since she lived with just her father, Alexander, after her parents' divorce, Lily often went to her aunt's house on the weekends to play around. So it wasn't unusual for her to make this journey on her own. Unfortunately, what started off as an ordinary weekend was about to end in a horrific tragedy. Things took a turn for the worse when Alex noticed that it was getting dark and Lily still hadn't come home. It wasn't like her to stay out late. He called his sister, assuming Lily was still at her place. But to his surprise, she told him Lily had already left over an hour ago. He then called the parents of Lily's friends, hoping she might have stopped at one of their houses on her way back. However, none of them had seen her either. Fearing for the safety of his daughter, Alex began searching the route Lily would have taken to and from her aunt's house. He also contacted the police and reported his daughter missing at around 9 p.m. While the authorities didn't issue an Amber Alert, they quickly formed a search party to help look for her in the surrounding area. And after hours of searching, Alex finally discovered the first clue to his daughter's whereabouts: her bike, abandoned in a nearby wooded area. But Lily herself was nowhere to be found.
You know what? I think I can figure out the entire mystery based on this single image. So you see here, you see this. This is what you call a bike chain. So the chain is off. So basically, the chain usually comes off when... Okay, I think I'm waffling. I don't know. But basically, I'm pretty sure like the chain only comes off when you crash into something. And so I think she must have got hit by a car from behind. I think that a car must have been stalking her. And then I think she must have been kidnapped into a car.
Police deployed drones and rescue dogs to search the woods and investigate the hiking trail that ran through the area. Then, at around 8:45 a.m., Alex received the news he had been dreading all night. Lily was deceased. A volunteer had discovered her body hidden under a pile of leaves just a few feet from the trail. After a brief examination, police ruled her death a homicide and began looking for the perpetrator. Unfortunately, they had nothing that could lead them in the right direction. That is, until someone made a post about Lily's case in the true crime subreddit. While everyone else was speculating on what could have happened to Lily, user HomesliceNation4 came forward with a crucial piece of information in a now deleted comment that read, "What's scary is I was playing Pokemon Go in the park that day and walking along that very same trail. My stomach turns when I think that I saw that girl in a pink/purple hoodie on her bike with another kid on my way out. I have a suspicion that it could be another kid that did it." Another user called the police tip line to report HomesliceNation4's comment. And to everyone's surprise, this was the breakthrough the investigators needed to solve the case.
Because now they can narrow down the suspects to just kids that the person knows. But I mean, why would that Redditor delete their comment afterwards? This is so sus. This is hella sus. Maybe this Redditor was the real person that killed the person, but then is trying to give this false information to like blame it on like another kid instead of this guy, HomesliceNation. So maybe this guy is the real murderer.
And to everyone's surprise, this was the breakthrough the investigators needed to solve the case. Because just a few hours later, police arrested Carson Peters Berger, Lily's 14-year-old cousin, as the prime suspect in her murder. Not long after he was taken into custody, Carson admitted to everything.
What?
However, just what happened to Lily that night was more horrifying than anyone could have ever imagined.
Let's not describe it.
According to Carson, he followed Lily as she was heading home and told her to follow him into the woods. He'd been planning this for months. Once they were off the trail, he... Though, all thanks to one Reddit comment, he was thankfully caught. Given the severity of his crimes and the fact that it was all premeditated, prosecutors decided to try Carson as an adult. He's still in custody awaiting his trial set for some time in 2026.
I mean, okay, not the stereotype or anything, but like, if you look at it, like, you walk on the street, you see someone like this. Do you not feel like a little bit afraid? Like he looks like a threat. He genuinely looks dangerous. But I mean, I wonder what the motive was. Like, this is the older cousin of this person. Like, maybe this was like Alabama, and like the cousin tried to make a move on the cousin and then got rejected.
On May 1st, 2013, Reddit user ShadyBusiness15 posted on the What Is This Thing subreddit, seeking answers for a strange device he found inside his power strip. The post read, "Violently blew a fuse in my extension cord, took it apart to see the damage, and found this inside."
Bro, the way he's just worded this, like, I violently blew a fuse in my extension cord. Like, when I read this, for some reason, I just read, I violently backshotted my extension cord instead. Bro, for some, like, just the way that he's worded this.
Alongside this, the OP shared pictures of 2 circuit boards connected to each other with wires and what appeared to be a SIM card.
Whoa.
He also cross-posted this in the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit, where users noticed a microphone on one of the circuit boards and figured this was a spying device of some kind. With one comment providing more details about how it worked, stating, "Your extension cord is a room bug. Someone calls the phone number on that SIM and the extension cord auto-answers and listens to the room." Put simply, one of the circuit boards was a cut-down version of a phone that used the SIM to transfer audio from the built-in microphone.
Okay, let me guess what brand this might be. Okay, let me guess what brand the extension cord might be and what country it might come from. Okay, I'm not gonna answer. I'm gonna get canceled if I answer it, but like, I'm sure we can assume, like, perhaps maybe what country this extension cord was built in.
The second board was a power delivery module, allowing the device to run directly off of the wall power without needing any batteries. However, this raised more questions than it answered, especially about the OP's true identity, with some users speculating if he was involved in some shady business. After all, why else would someone go through the effort of planting a bug to listen in on his conversations?
Yeah.
But according to a later comment, he was just a normal university student who was living in the university's dorm.
Sure, mate. I'm sure you're just a university student, bro. This is like the most default generic answer you could have asked for. Like, if I asked ChatGPT to give an excuse for like give me any occupation, they're gonna 100% give me university student. Bro, everyone, technically anyone could be a university student.
He was just a normal university student who was living in the university's dorms, and that he took this extension cord from his home when he moved. But also mentioned that there are other people with access to his room who could have planted the bug without his knowledge. With this, the focus shifted towards finding out who planted this in the OP's power strip and why. Some users suggested putting the SIM in a spare phone, but doing so only deepened the mystery further. Apparently, it had a 10-pound credit, suggesting that it was being used at some point. However, it didn't have any contacts, voicemails, or call logs. And judging from the network messages, the device had been active since October 2012. This also helped the OP retrieve the SIM's number, but calling it returned an automated message stating, "The service is now closed, and if you have voicemail, you can turn it on." Nothing else. The OP tried leaving it active in a spare phone as well, but even after days of waiting, he didn't receive any calls or messages. It's possible the person who planted it had already gotten the information they needed, or perhaps they found out the OP had discovered it and decided to back off. In either case, the OP's only remaining option was to contact the SIM's carrier, O2. Unfortunately, they weren't much help either. He would have needed a police warrant to access the call logs, something he didn't want to deal with. Without access to the call logs, the only real suspects OP had were his own parents. However, he didn't find the spy SIM's number in either of their phones when he checked later. This left a single possibility that's also the most likely explanation for the whole thing. Put simply, the spy device was never meant for the OP in the first place. As many on Reddit hypothesized, the bug was likely intended and used for corporate espionage at some point.
Likely Chinese in origin. Wow, what a wild assumption. That is extremely racist. BRKDNCR. Frick you freaking frick.
From there, it somehow found its way into the OP's home. Maybe one of his parents brought it home from work or purchased it in a corporate clearance sale without realizing what it actually was. But by then, the device had already fulfilled its purpose and wasn't being used. Unfortunately, while Redditors were quick to identify and solve what the device was, they weren't able to find a concrete answer for who planted it and why. The last update from the OP was in May of 2013. Chances of getting an answer now, over 12 years later, are practically zero.
But I mean, what would you do with that information? Like, it's just audio recordings. Like, unless you want to, like, record someone like doing the frickety. Like imagine calling the phone to activate like the listening device, and then all you hear is like a bunch of people just like furiously moaning, like and just like violent back shots. Instead of violently blowing the fuse, you just hear someone just giving like the most violent back shots you've ever heard.
On the morning of August 9, 2018, 66-year-old Susan Rainwater set out on her usual cycling route in Eatonville, Washington. But unlike the countless times she'd followed this routine, that day she didn't come home on time. Worried, her husband David Rainwater went out looking for her, only to come face to face with the aftermath of a tragic accident. Just off the side of the road, David discovered the mangled remains of his wife's bicycle. As he got closer, he saw an injured Susan lying on the ground not far from the bike. Sadly, it was already too late.
Hit and run.
Susan had succumbed to her injuries and passed away before David could get to her. He eventually gathered himself enough to call the police, who after examining Susan and her surroundings were able to piece together what had happened. And according to their investigation, this was a classic hit-and-run case. Susan was likely struck from behind by a fast-moving car, resulting in her getting severely injured. However, instead of stopping and helping Susan, the suspect decided to save himself and fled the scene.
Bro, what do you mean, save yourself? You're literally in a car. You've collided with a bike. The bike is destroyed. The person riding the bike is destroyed. Meanwhile, your car probably just has not even a single dent. It probably has like a scratch on it, and you're just inside your massive truck. Like, of course you're not going to be harmed. So what do you mean save yourself, bro? Like, the only person that needs saving is the person you've just hit.
Unfortunately, there were no witnesses or nearby CCTV cameras, leading investigators with no leads to follow. The only clue they found on the crime scene was this one piece of black plastic that likely broke off the suspect's car from the collision.
And don't tell me some random Redditor is gonna have like this exact same car and is gonna be able to identify this oddly specific part of a car. Bro, there is absolutely no way. There is no way. And if it's some like really obscure, like a 2008 like model of a car, like a really old car that barely anyone else in the world owns, that would be insane. But I assume that's probably what happens.
Investigators tried their best, but they weren't able to figure out what this was supposed to be, let alone what car it belonged to. With no other options, one of the troopers at the scene turned to the internet for help, stating, "Troopers and detectives are still looking for a black vehicle believed to be involved in this morning's tragic bicyclist fatality. If you know anything regarding this collision, please call the Washington State Patrol." While this post received little attention on Twitter, someone reposted the query on the What Is This Thing subreddit, where it went viral and received valuable input from hundreds of users. And it didn't take long for Redditors to figure out that this piece came from the car's headlight bezel, as it had the notch used to access the headlight adjusting screws.
Okay, this is the headlight from the inside. There's no way you'd be able to see this from the outside. Like this usually has like a cover over it, like a plastic cover over it, and then it has the lights installed and everything. This is from like the inside, because you see the screws over here. So the screws come in this way. So basically you're looking at this from like the inside. So there's no way you would know what this is unless you build cars and you've built this exact specific car before.
However, figuring out what car this belonged to was still going to be a tall order. After all, there are dozens of manufacturers with hundreds of different models. Not to mention aftermarket parts, which would have been practically impossible to track down. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the post reached perhaps the only person capable of identifying the suspect's car model from that tiny broken piece.
And I guess that person is literally the only person left in this world with that exact same car model. It's probably some like 1997 Toyota CXR87 Cameroon, not a Camry. It's like a discontinued like model or something.
2 hours after the original post was made, user Jeff's Nuts dropped a comment that single-handedly brought the search to a close. As it turned out, Jeff was a state inspector in Maryland, where his job was to make sure vehicles were up to code before issuing registration. So he'd seen his fair share of headlight bezels at work. And according to him, the piece police found belonged to a 1988 Chevy Silverado.
Bro, 1988. How, okay, this guy, okay. I mean, first of all, like, how has he, like, specifically come across this exact car? And second of all, how has he remembered this? Like, perhaps he worked on this exact car, like, in that exact town. How many of these are left in the world? Like, I assume there's probably only, like, less than 100 of these left. This is like a 40-year-old car. How can a car last like more than 20 years.
After spotting the resemblance, users forwarded the information to the investigators, prompting a search for a vehicle that matched this new description. Then, just 5 days later, the state trooper announced what everyone was waiting for. They had located the vehicle that struck Susan and arrested its owner. The man responsible for her death was 37-year-old Jeremy Thomas Simon. He first claimed that he had fallen asleep at the wheel and thought that he'd hit a deer instead of a person. However, his story later changed to where he knew he hit a person, but didn't get out to help because he, quote, did not want to see a body.
Are you kidding me? Wait, but at the same time, how can they, like, convict this person just from this car piece? Because what if that car piece was there from, like, the day before? Like, what if, like, a collision between two cars had occurred, like, the day before, and this was, like, leftover damage?
It was clear he was just making excuses, since authorities also found a small bag of hard drugs in his car, suggesting he may have been under the influence at the time of the crash. In the end, he was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. Not exactly a harsh penalty for a deadly hit and run, but it is better than nothing.
Bro, you killed someone. That is manslaughter, and you only get 4.5 years? How is it possibly that low? 4.5 years. That's like, bro, that's like a university degree. Isn't that like at least like 15 years if you like unalive someone? Especially if it's like a hit and run. Like you intended on like just leaving them.
In October 2024, someone noticed that one of their electrical outlets in their home looked different from the others. It looked like it had a camera inside, but it wasn't super obvious. So they turned to Reddit and posted photos of the outlet, hoping someone would either confirm or deny their suspicions. They also explained their situation further in a comment reading, "I've had a stalker in my apartment broken into in the past. I got a camera detector for peace of mind, not knowing it would read anything, but it led me to this and detected radio waves and reflected back with the infrared. The bottom ground looks different than the other GFCI plugs in the rest of the complex."
I mean, did you really need to post on Reddit to get this confirmation? I mean, to me, to an untrained eye, that looks like a camera. It looks like there's a camera. But like, this is the US plug. Okay, so I don't know how the US plug works, but I assume nothing goes into these holes. What are these holes for down here? Because like in Australia, we have this. So we have the 3-prong plug. And so this bottom one actually goes into this bottom hole. But for you guys, I don't know whether you actually put anything in that bottom hole. Yeah, I don't think you guys put anything in that bottom hole. Wait, so why does that bottom hole even exist? I mean, of course, someone's going to put a camera in like there if no one puts like anything in there.
Right away, several people agreed with the OP in that something was definitely off about the outlet. Then, just 40 minutes after the post went up, one user confirmed the OP 100% had a hidden camera in their home by tracking down the exact model for sale online.
Whoa.
And according to its product page, it's a wireless camera that could transmit 4K video completely over Wi-Fi.
What?
Given the OP's history with a stalker, the same person was likely behind installing the hidden camera as well.
Yeah, because she said that like the stalker broke into her house. I've had a stalker in my apartment broken into the past. Yeah, well, you know what the stalker did when he broke into your apartment the last time. He probably installed this thing.
Many strongly suggested the OP get out of the house and call the police.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what happened next remains a mystery. The account that made the post was a throwaway the OP created solely for this purpose. And after confirming their suspicions, they never posted any new updates.
And then they were brutally murdered after the person broke into it a final time. But I mean, 100% that stalker just wanted to watch this person do the frickety, even if it was just like with someone else. That is insanely creepy.
In July of 2012, user Delver of Secrets Reddit account made a post in r/askreddit looking for answers on a strange encounter they recently had. It stated, "Today, a homeless-looking man handed me $50 and this note. Do any of you have any idea what it means?"
I mean, I think I know what it means. This is Squid Game. This is literally how Squid Game begins. Like, isn't it this guy? Like, this guy. This is the homeless guy that gives you $50 and, like, the paper, and then you have to play against him. This is literally how they recruit everyone for, like, Squid Game. So this guy was doing Squid Game before Squid Game even released.
"Dear Reddit, I work in New York City and was dragged into a very curious situation today. I was taking the 1 train from Midtown to the financial district, and as usual..."
Right, of course it's in a train station as well. This is literally how it happens in Squid Game. This is Squid Game. It's literally Squid Game. The guy gets off the train. I guarantee it's going to be the exact same story.
"And as usual, the train was pretty packed. I bumped into a raggedy dressed man as we got on, and he shot me a quick smile. I thought nothing of it until he went to get off at 14th Street, and he handed me a $50 bill along with a note. Before I could even open my mouth to ask him a question, he was gone. Below, you find pictures of both the front and back of the note."
Oh my god. Okay, that is insanely creepy. Okay, it's like a crossword puzzle as well. This is 100% Squid Game. It's either Squid Game, Area 51, or like some like FBI sort of test. This could be an FBI recruitment test. Low-key. If you had to imagine how the FBI recruit people, I would like imagine it's going to be some sort of like IQ sort of test, like some problem solving test like this. And it'll be like out in the wild, so they like tests your raw intuition.
"I've been looking at the note all day, and needless to say, I have no idea what it means."
Okay, then it looks. Then I guess you are not fit to be an FBI agent then.
"It's handwritten on a 3x3 square piece of paper with no identifying marks and no watermarks. There's a hand-drawn grid, and in a couple of spots, the cells of the grid are combined.
Isn't this cheating though? Like, you should solve it yourself. You should solve it. Like these guys, Reddit, they're not trying to be FBI agents. They chose you. This homeless man chose you to be the next Squid Game FBI agent.
And the bottom quarter is filled with random shapes and numbers. Maybe I'm just reading way too far into things, and he was just another crazy New Yorker, but I figured it would be neat to see if anyone has run into this similar situation. Do any of you have any idea as to what the note says, if anything? After taking a good look at both the note and the $50 bill, some users figured out that the note was what's known as a bifid cipher, and deciphering it revealed a message that read, "There's plenty more money to make. Figure this out and prepare to meet July 19, 56 and 6 hot dog stand outside Rue 57 Cafe. Ask for Mr. Input." However, before anyone had the time to figure out the true meaning behind this note, Delver of Secrets received a coded message on Reddit. It was likely from the same guy that handed him the note earlier that day. When decoded, this message read, "You have managed to find the message with the help of friends. You changed the rules, now so will I. July 12, 4 p.m. Find the Blue Jay at 6.5 and 56 and tell him you are the last."
Okay, so this is literally Squid Game. This is literally Squid Game. This is how they recruit everyone for the Squid Game. It's literally this guy. It's this guy. He moved from Korea to New York. That is like a very unbelievably creepy way to like torment someone. Like this homeless guy has just targeted this specific guy, but then he's also found his Reddit account because he knew that he would post it on Reddit. Like he just picked some random like overweight guy with a neck beard and assumed that that guy probably had Reddit, and that if you give him a note that he will probably like post it on Reddit on like a random subreddit, and then that's how he's like located this specific guy. The homeless guy knows it's this like specific guy with the neck beard and everything.
This was packed with clues pointing in multiple directions. For starters, 6.5 and 56 corresponded to 6.5 Avenue on 56th Street in New York. And at that location, there was a salon named Gotham Skincare. This led many to believe that this whole thing was a marketing stunt for something related to Batman, especially since the date given in the original note, July 19th, was one day short of the release date for The Dark Knight Rises. One person even called the marketing company for that movie in hopes of getting them to admit the truth.
So basically, I was one of the people who got caught up in the whole homeless man give me $50. We had to figure out some sort of code. So after staying up for hours and reading all the comments, I definitely came to the conclusion that this reeks of marketing campaign.
But I mean, that is like a really good marketing campaign, although it's definitely a little bit creepy. Like they probably could have done it differently, but I mean that would be similar to like if like people in Korea started like doing this thingy like to sort of promote the release of Squid Game season 3. Like it's creepy, it gets attention. I mean as long as it gets attention, like that's a decent marketing campaign, although it's a little bit unethical. It's very unethical. Like you're just creeping so many people out.
Hey guys, what's up? Alright, so it's 9:16 here in New York, and I'm about to call Leveraged Marketing Corporation of America. If you look up the address that we're all supposed to meet at later today at 4, this is actually a marketing agency that's right next to it, so it just makes sense that it might be them. And the Dark Knight thing just makes sense too, because the movie's coming out so soon. And hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm calling to make sure that everything is going to be set up for the Dark Knight campaign later today.
What is the Dark Knight campaign in New York City?
Yeah, it's actually right next to your office at about 4 o'clock today, actually.
I see. Yeah, I know that. Please give Margie a call. I'm Callan.
He just admitted to knowing about it. I don't know. You figure it out.
While this didn't lead to anything substantial, Reddit users found the next clue hidden within the Reddit message. You see, the username that sent the message was 222-0944-379. One user converted this to an IP address, and it led to Fort Huachuca in Arizona, a military base that's primarily focused on intelligence training. So, could it be that Delver of Secrets was being recruited as a spy or something along those lines?
I mean, that's what I was sort of like my initial first thoughts. Like this could have been like a spy thing. You could have just blown your entire like opportunity to be part of like the FBI, CIA. Like me personally, if I ever received one of these, like I would take it hella seriously. Like I wouldn't just like share it on the internet, because then that like automatically like disqualifies you. Like if you share it on the internet, that's just like what is it? I don't know that concept in like in movies, but like it's like when you share something with everyone, it just sort of like eliminates you from like whatever. And so you could have become like an FBI agent, because like how, like realistically, how else are they meant to recruit FBI agents and like CIA agents? Like this, like in my mind, like this seems like a really good way to do it. And so I feel like you may have potentially just blown your opportunity to become an FBI agent.
For some, this was certainly a possibility. However, another user discovered that a spy exhibition was happening at the nearby Discovery Times Square Museum on July 12th. Maybe this was a marketing stunt for that instead. But this idea was also shot down by another user who claimed to work for the museum, stating that they had nothing to do with this. With no other leads, a group of curious New York-based Redditors decided to meet at the specified location on July 12th to see if anything would actually happen. However, despite dozens of people showing up, including Delver of Secrets, no one noticed anything out of the ordinary and had to go back in disappointment. Now, if this was some legitimate espionage-related matter, a large crowd would have instantly scared off anyone planning to meet Delver of Secrets at that location. So, the whole thing was kind of pointless in that regard. But on the other hand, the gathering all but confirmed that this wasn't some marketing stunt. Because if it were, the media attention and large crowd would have been the perfect moment for a big reveal that never happened. Then, something happened that no one saw coming. On July 13th, Delver of Secrets removed everything from his post and replaced it with a single ominous passage reading, "Received a phone call today threatening violence against me and my family, going as far as to name members of my family and their addresses unless I delete this post. The caller also told me not to show up on the 19th and to inform anyone planning to show up on the 19th that nothing would happen. This will be my last message from this account before I delete it. I'll also be changing my number later today. I am sorry if a resolution to this never happens, but I'm not willing to risk my family's safety for a few extra dollars." With that, Delver of Secrets vanished from the internet. While Reddit did solve layers of coded messages and uncover clues hidden within other clues, they were ultimately left with nothing but speculation and an unsolved mystery.
I mean, the fact that the entire note was handwritten, yeah, it doesn't really seem like something that like would be like mass produced for like everyone. So I assume this is the only person in New York City that received this specific note, because it was handwritten. Otherwise, it would have just been like printed and just given out to everyone like flyers. And so potentially this guy was like targeted, like maybe he like an assassin, like a hitman wanted to get this guy, and so they made him go to that exact location so that like the sniper would be ready with like a clean shot. Or maybe he was being like recruited for the FBI. But like, yeah, my gut feeling says he just blew his entire career opportunity like in the FBI.